Hi, welcome to the Libertarian Alternative. My name is Mark Selzer, and this is an educational television show brought to your community by the Libertarian Party. Today's guest is Dan Fernandez. He's a candidate with the Libertarian Party. You've been a federal candidate with the Libertarian Party?
State candidate.
State candidate. And you are an aerospace engineer.
Correct.
And you are the chair of the San Fernando Valley?
Well, they call it representatives now. They've done away with the chair title, but it's East San Gabriel Valley.
And you've done that for many years?
Yes, many years.
And how many times have you been a candidate for the Libertarian Party?
Just once.
Just once? And you have how many children?
Two.
Two? And you're married?
Yes.
So the topic today is going to be the war in Iraq, or against Iraq, or against the
Or maybe war in general.
war in general, perhaps. I do
Or
think
perhaps
that
we should talk about U.S. foreign policy.
that is true. I think they're
Because
all
related.
all of these things are related together. Now, one of the things that strikes me about this war is that there doesn't really seem to be any clear impetus for it. It seems that when it started, it was weapons of mass destruction, then it was removing an evil dictator, then it was removing trying to give civil rights to the people there, or install democracy.
Democracy, yes.
There's an endless number of things.
We've always just hopped from one excuse to be there to the next, haven't we?
And although the people who support the war are saying, oh, well, there's too many good reasons. Is that why you're complaining? There's too many good reasons for us to be there? But it doesn't seem like any of these reasons are good reasons.
Well, it doesn't seem like any of them are good reasons to you.
That's true.
But if you take a poll, I think you'll find that a diminishing but substantial number of Americans do think that we still should be there.
Yeah, but that's getting to be pretty small.
Well, you know, the polls I've seen are that when we went into Iraq, 60% favored to 40 against, and then after we've been there for a couple years, it was like 40% was in favor of having gone in now, and 60 was against. So in other words, 20% flip-flopped. And as it stands right now, I'm sure that those numbers have deteriorated from the pro-war point of view.
My understanding is even the Republicans now are getting near or below 50% disapproval.
Yes, they were right at almost 50% for a while, and I think that's true. They've gone below.
But libertarians have always opposed the war, and we've opposed most wars.
Well, when you say libertarians, I think you need to caveat that a little bit, because I would say maybe 3/4 of the libertarians were against going into the war. Certainly a lower percentage than the general population. However, there were some pro-war libertarians.
That's true. Well, or people that are calling themselves libertarians. There's always
make a litmus test.
There's always Republicans for life. I mean, or Democrats for life, pro-choice Republicans, and in every crowd there is. But libertarians generally, with few exceptions, have always opposed war. Well, because it is an expansion of government power. War is the health of the state, is a libertarian saying.
Yes, but of course all libertarians are not 100% libertarian on every issue.
That's true.
And so I would like to think that we have a big tent, and that we would accept people who are libertarian leaning, and that once they do get into the libertarian culture, they become more and more libertarian as they learn from other libertarians. And so, of course, I do believe that there's room for pro-war libertarians, and we hope to be able to convince them with reason that they should change their opinion about that.
Over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly believe that we can have any sort of people in the party who agree with us on only one issue, but the outward, what the party says, should always be to give the small government point of view
what the party says
on every issue.
What the party says has to be a lot more pure than just even the majority view of libertarians. It has to be based on libertarian principles.
Right.
And we might want to talk about that a little bit.
And well, even if we have some controversy in the party, or a few loud people in the party. I think the Libertarian Party is probably 9/10 at this point against the war. But the idea of having the Libertarian Party is to always give the small government point of view, because if someone disagrees with us on one issue or another, they can always be assured that the Republicans and the Democrats are going to be representing their point of view very thoroughly, and that the Republicans and the Democrats will get their ideas out into the public.
Well, they call the
As without, and they won't need a tiny political party like the Libertarian Party in order to represent their
I think
views.
it's very important to notice that the Libertarian Party calls itself the party of principle, and that's so important to the Libertarian Party, because principles are what we should be standing for. It always frightens me when libertarians issue positions that are not according to those principles, because it's fine for individuals to hold those kinds of non-libertarian views, but it's not fine for the party to do that.
Yeah, it's never good, because it causes, as far as I can see, a lot of dissent. And also for myself, if you agreed with the Libertarian Party on every issue except the war in Iraq, and you were to get your way, you would still have a government that was about as expensive as the government was before the war started. You wouldn't really have a smaller government. You'd have a government at about the same size. In fact, the war has been so expensive, if we eliminated all the other things the government's doing and just had the war, you'd basically have a government that was about the same size that it was when George Bush was first elected to office. George Bush has spent more in the last 7.5 years than all the presidents combined.
George Bush is not a Reagan Republican. You know, he's more of a compassionate conservative, I guess he calls him. In other words, he's not a small government Republican like Reagan was. And
well,
Reagan
I would disagree that Reagan was small
Reagan
government
didn't
either.
Government, but he tried. At least he tried. Bush is not trying at all.
Well, again, that's a whole other show. I don't think that Ronald Reagan.
I mean, that's what the Republicans say. I'm just quoting Republicans. I used to be a Republican. I have to confess that.
Right. Ronald Reagan gave us the biggest tax raise in the history of the country, called the payroll tax. But you know, that's a whole other show. We'll do it another day.
We've already covered that in a different segment. Anyways.
But that's one good way to segue into talking about the cost of this war. I mean, it's been billions of dollars, endless billions of dollars.
Sure, and it's. I think it runs about $1,000 per family per year, something like that. But I don't think the cost bothers me as much as the principle of the thing, and whether we should be engaging in these kinds of foreign wars, and why it is in our best interest to do so, or isn't. And but in a larger sense, what should our foreign policy be? And let me just quote what the Libertarian Party says about our foreign policy. It should be mind your own business, no intervention, no foreign occupations, no foreign bases, no alliances. Basically, go back to what George Washington said, no entangling alliances, and have a strong defense, and certainly the military that we have today is not geared for defense. It's geared for basically a world empire.
It's geared for offense.
More of an offense, yeah. Maybe we should change it back to the War Department, the Department of Defense.
Probably that's very true.
Which is what it used to be
But people are claiming that an offense is the best defense. What would you say to that kind of an argument?
That's very silly. Offense just makes enemies.
Okay, and that is another thing that I personally believe. I mean, every time we drop a bomb in a foreign land, we have what's called collateral damage, and I think
we're out making enemies.
The collateral damage in this war has been worse, I think, than any other war.
Well, plus there's a moral issue here. I mean, how many people do we want to kill with